All right. Hey guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about why the US and possibly the globe is going into a recession and what that means for you and the things you can do to actually use a recession as a wealth building supercharger. So, a lot of people have a lot of fear around the world. The word recession, and there's a whole lot of negativity in the news talking about the possibility of a recession. And if you think like a contrarian, like we've talked about in some of the last videos, you can actually use it to build a lot of wealth. That's actually what I did in the '08 global financial crisis. Was I used that as kind of a kickoff point from going dead broke to making over $1 million in 18 months and then using that to compound my wealth ever since then. And so I've been through this before. It doesn't freak me out. And I have some tips on how you can really use it to your benefit. So let's just jump right into it. What is a damn recession anyway? There's a lot of different definitions. A lot of people look at this several different ways, but at a basic level, a recession is a significant decline in economic activity that lasts for more than a few months. Okay. And you can usually see that in GDP, so gross domestic product, income levels, employment and unemployment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. So basically, it's just a slowdown in the economy. And another popular way that people view it is by looking at the U.S. real GDP quarter over quarter. And you can see we had this really, really wild capitulation in GDP during the COVID panic. But if you go back and look at, 2008 and the early 2000s, around 2001, we did have several quarters where we actually dipped below into negative territory. And so that's usually what people are looking for, is a couple of months of negative GDP growth. And really here in June, we're going to see if we get the technical definition for that. But no matter what definition you're looking at, there are some pretty freaky things that happen when we're actually in a recession. Let's talk about some of the things that people do and the real world implications of a recession. The first thing, and the thing that people usually focus on, is that asset prices sell off, right? This is usually the case in stocks, right? In 2008, stocks got a 50% haircut. Real estate, we had a really bad real estate crash. Actually, a little before even 2008, I was in the mortgage business and I was working with some of the largest home builders in the US. And so I was on the front line of kind of the subprime mortgage debacle, and I saw the wave of crap that was coming. So I got out of the mortgage industry before the GFC and started focusing on my wealth building machine, which I'll talk about here in a second. But the thing that is yet to be seen is crypto, because Bitcoin has never been or lived through a true recession, right? Bitcoin was actually born in the depths of the '08 financial crisis, right? The stock market and the recession kind of bottomed out in 2009, and that's when Bitcoin came into existence. So Bitcoin's had this incredible growth trajectory over the past decade or more, because in part of a recovering global economy and stock markets that have basically been trending up, right? So this is yet to be seen how Bitcoin and the crypto economy will respond if we do go into an extended recession. The second thing is people panic and they make rash decisions, right? People do a lot of things that cause them financial harm, right? They react emotionally and they do really stupid things. They also experience job losses, foreclosures. We see increased poverty, right? So this is why recession is such a scary topic for a lot of people, because if you're relying on a job, or if you are highly leveraged in a house that you bought potentially at the top of the market, or if you have a lot of margin in your investment portfolio, a sell-off in asset prices can cause a waterfall of selling, which could liquidate you at the bottom or get you kicked out of your house, or send you into abject poverty, right? So this is why it's important to really think about what happens to you and your family during a recession, and how you can protect yourself against it and even set yourself up to build massive amounts of wealth. So Here are some common mistakes that I've seen a lot of people make during recessions and things that hopefully you can avoid. The first and the biggest one is having to live off of your assets. Okay. This is where like reverse compounding comes in, right? It's one thing if you can't contribute to your investment portfolio during a recession, but if you actually have to draw from it, not only are you not investing at lower prices, but you're actually being forced to sell those to live at lower prices, right? So let's say your investment portfolio takes a 50% haircut and then you're having to sell while things are down. That's literally the opposite of what you want to be doing, right? The second thing is kind of right in line with that, living off your assets is panic selling during sell-offs. Even if you don't have to live off that, if you're like, I can't take the pain, I'm just going to sell this, that's another massive mistake. More of an intangible one also is being lazy, fearful, and not looking for opportunity when things are down, right? I remember in '08, there were so many just, daily news articles and TV reports where it was just doom and gloom, and everybody was so depressed, and you had home builders going under and mortgage companies going under, and big investment banks that have been around for 100 years completely going away. And we all saw the TV shows that were showing people walking out of the office with all of their office junk, and it's just a really depressing time. And so what that can cause people to do is lock up and just become lazy and like a hermit. And I think a lot of people experience that actually through COVID, right? It made people during quarantine and all the lockdown crap made people, get out of their productive routines. It maybe made them lazy. And now is the time that it makes sense to do the exact opposite of that, to really push hard and search for opportunity. And so let's talk about the things that you want to do during a recession. The first thing is focusing on maximizing cash flow. Okay. So I actually tweeted this a little bit ago. I said there's 3 phases of the wealth building cycle. You have times where it makes sense to aggressively accumulate assets, right? There's also a time for active trading and profit taking. And then there's a time for income and cash flow maximization. And I said, I think we're going into phase 3 now, right? I think right now, either before or during the starting points of a recession, it makes the most sense to hone in on your cash flow, to figure out everything you can possibly do to increase your income and minimize expenses. That way, the second step of that is you can take that cash flow and buy assets in a fire sale, right? Now, I know during a recession, if you get laid off or something like that, that might be more of a challenge to have cash flow, but that's why you really want to take your financial future into your own hands. Start a business, start a side hustle, become an entrepreneur, or do something where when you are anticipating or looking at the potential for a recession, you can say, how can I remain liquid and how can I increase my cash flow when everyone else is losing their minds, right? So when you have that cash flow, you can buy assets that are in a fire sale. And on the mental side, you don't want to feed into the fear, right? Protect your mind at all costs. Because again, when there's so much negativity in the world, if you focus on the mainstream media, if you're just focused on the wrong things, hanging out with the wrong people that are all sad and depressed, right? That's going to keep you from taking the right action to actually build wealth when everybody else is freaking out. The other thing I'll say is during a recession, volatility is a trader's best friend, right? This is where you have the most opportunity. And some of the best years for active like day traders were actually '08 and '09 because you had the biggest trading ranges and you had a lot of emotional dumb money in the markets. That's where active traders can go in and pick off profits from that, right? So I think it's also a good time as we go into areas of higher volatility to hone your skills as a trader. And I'll show you why I think that's a really smart move here in a second when I show you my wealth building machine. But the final thing is when you have deeply discounted prices, that is the best time to buy for long-term holds, right? So we have our active portfolios and we have our passive portfolios. and you can dollar cost average, but usually the best time to buy is when everything's on a fire sale, right? So let's go through a little bit more deeply into the three phases of the wealth building cycle through a recession, right? So number one is cash flow maximization, right? This is where you work to increase your income and decrease expenses. Number two is as you have that cash flow, you go into aggressive asset accumulation mode. Buy when things are on sale, right? Number three is as things remain highly volatile for a while, because, again, you don't just go into a recession and then all of a sudden overnight, everything's peachy. Usually after a big crash, you're going to have several quarters of high volatility in the markets, right? Where people are just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And so if you want to be active in the markets, again, you don't have to be a full-time day trader, but if you are a little more tactical, you can actually use that to feed your wealth building machine. And here's how I do that specifically. So my wealth building machine is set up like this. Okay. So I take my income and my cash flow and I do everything. I focus like 80 to 90% of my time on this, right? Because I control this. I don't control the markets, but I can control how much money I can generate every month, right? That's where I can dedicate a ton of focus and energy and time. And what I do is I put that into my active trading and investing portfolio. And what that does is my income feeds my trading accounts, right? So I take my cash flow, put it in trading accounts, and then through active trading and investing, I grow those position sizes, which kicks off income. So it kind of has this symbiotic relationship where my income feeds my trading and my trading feeds my income in a way. And then as my income continues to grow, I also put that into my passive investing portfolio, which compounds on its own, right? So my passive investing portfolio, I'm not really being tactical there. I'm buying low fee index funds. I'm buying physical gold. I'm buying Bitcoin when it's in bear markets and accumulation ranges, and I'm putting it in cold storage and never touching it, right? But by combining both active and passing, my active feeds the income, and which in turn feeds my passive. So it's kind of like a cycle, right? It's a machine that just feeds on itself. And so, again, I know trading isn't for everybody, but if you can do it the right way, I think it can hyperdrive your gains and your wealth levels, especially in a recession. You guys have heard on the We Talk Money show, Travis, who at the hedge fund, '09 was their biggest year ever because they were bouncing back out of a recession. So again, instead of being fearful about a recession, instead of just focusing on all the negativity, you can take these steps and really set yourself up for massive success. And I did a couple of surveys that I'll share with you before we go. But the first one here is from today I said, if we see another extended global recession that rhymes with 2008, what do you think Bitcoin will do? 43% of you guys said down more percent than stocks, right? So, you guys think that in a recession, Bitcoin's going to be down even bigger than the stock market. About a third of you guys, or 30%, said it's going to track the stock market drawdowns. So basically, if stocks are down by 50%, Bitcoin might be down by 50%. It's already down bigger on a percentage basis as of today. About 10% says it's going to stay at today's prices. And then 17% of you guys said new all-time high. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. Again, nobody knows how Bitcoin's going to respond if we do have an extended recession that lasts for several quarters or several years, because it hasn't been alive since the recession ended over a decade ago, right? So it's yet to be seen. But I can tell you this. No matter what happens, no matter what the narrative is, I am not going to stop my wealth building machine. If anything, I'm like excited about the possibility of a recession because I know there's going to be emotional money. I know there's a lot of boomers that, and I feel for you guys, anybody over the age of 60 that's looking at their investment portfolio going, okay, we could potentially have much bigger drawdowns. I'm starting to have to withdraw this capital over the next decade or two. What does that look like for me? I think that could actually add to the selling pressure. So as a millennial, I want to be able to step in, and if, we have a waterfall of selling, I want to be able to step in and buy at much lower prices. If we don't get a recession and things bounce and we just, have a V bottom recovery and things keep trucking higher, that's great too. I'll go back into active trading mode and continue my machine. So I guess the point is it doesn't matter what the economy does. You just need to lean into, okay, what am I focused on right now? I'm focused on cash flow maximization, accumulation, or active trading, right? Or maybe a mix of 2 or 3 of those, right? It really depends on where the markets are at and where you can focus your time and energy. The final thing I'll show with you guys is I also surveyed everybody and asked, for all of you entrepreneurs and freelancers out there, how well do you think your business finances are optimized? I was thinking about this. If we're going back into cash flow mode, it's really important to optimize your business for cash flow, because there's a time to get highly leveraged. There's a time to push for exponential growth. And then there's a time to focus on profitability, right? A lot of people don't even know what that word means. They're like, hey, I'm going to create a startup. I'm going to raise 5 million. Google's going to buy me or whatever. I'm going to launch some shit coin and it's going to go to 1 billion market cap, right? But in a recession, the thing you want to focus on is optimizing your business finances, right? You want to minimize taxes. You want to optimize your investments. You want to make sure you have the right corporate structure and maximizing cash flow. And it looks like about 70% of you guys either said that, it's currently a disaster or it's uncertain and you're maybe missing some things. Maybe a quarter of you guys said you're doing well or you're confident that you're optimized. So if you are an entrepreneur or a freelancer and you have control over your business income and your cash flow, I think now is the time to really focus on optimizing everything. And I'm going to start doing a lot more videos on that. Trading and investing are great, but it's very market dependent, right? It depends on what markets are offering you, what the market environment is. Sometimes it's really ripe for trading. Sometimes it's, the best thing is no trade at all. But when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, that's something that you can always focus on, right? You can always hustle. You can always stay laser focused on increasing that monthly cash flow. And I just think now is the time to do that. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, feel free to leave it down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, share it with anybody that you think would get value, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.